Wow, I am digging my new show opener. Thank you so much, Lamont. Oh my gosh, I got to give you a raise once we get some money. Good evening and welcome to One Take Live. I am Monica May. It is a show that just forces people to come out and just tell their truth. And we have some very interesting topics and even more interesting guests. And our guest this evening is a dear friend of mine. He is an Edgewater High School graduate, a Morehouse man, to say the least. He is none other than, I always claim him as my brother. This is Cassius Butts. Good evening, Cassius. How are you?
I'm great, Monica. Thank you so much for having me here today. I really appreciate it.
Goodness, I am excited. When I saw you post this book on Facebook, I went out on Amazon, got mine right away, and I flipped through it like in two seatings. And I scribbled through this book so much that if I had to give it to somebody else, they would think it was a textbook. There's so much good stuff in this. The book is called Exceptional, being the exception to the rule. And Cassius, if you don't already know, is a two-time United States presidential appointee. We're going to find out what that really means. We're going to find out what it takes to be exceptional. And we're going to share just some tidbits from the book. All right. So let's talk about what does it take to be exceptional, Cassius?
Well, I would say, again, Monica, I really appreciate having any time to sit down to talk with you. We've known each other for years.
Thank you.
You are consistent, and congratulations on the show, too. I love this whole scene. The view is beautiful, by the way, so thank you for that.
Thank you.
The exceptional, really, Monica, was just something that I really wanted to have the opportunity to give something back to people who may have had the same challenges that I may have had in life. And as you know, I won't give it away too much, but a little blurb. I had an unfortunate situation for me coming out of Orlando, and something that could have just changed the trajectory of my entire career, personally and professionally. And so I had to find ways to overcome it. And I just really looked within and try to figure out and find answers. And I will tell you, I just said something came to me to follow my faith and look at and write something that can be encouraging, inspiring, and be a guide to someone else who may be in the same place.
And when you talk about what it takes to be exceptional, the first thing you start off with is something that I truly believe in, and I speak from many stages on, is find your passion.
Right.
What is it that moves you? What is it that you gravitate towards? What is it that you wake up in the middle of the night and the first thing in the morning and you want to pursue it? Finding your passion. But how do we teach people that don't dream anymore about finding their passion?
Well, you said it, Monica, and the key is that, you have to have dreams to give you goals to reach for. And sometimes we have to remind ourselves that we need goals to reach for. And so finding your passion really means finding that inner self strength that's going to say, hey, this is why I exist. This is what I'm here. I wrote this book, Monica, based off the premise of American psychologist Abraham Maslow, that talked about self-actualization. And that's really finding out who you are, getting in your lane and realizing that in your lane, no one's in front of you, no one's behind you. You can go at the pace that you want to go. You may have things that fall in your lane along the way, but at the same time, it's your lane. So as long as you stay in your lane, follow your passion, then you can actually be certain never to become lost. And it sounds simple, but the reality is it really is simple. Once you look at your challenge and say, I don't want to be in that position anymore, how do I get out of that?
Share with us your trajectory from Edgewater High School to Atlanta to become a Morehouse man. You're now teaching there as well. In fact, this book, ladies and gentlemen, is part of the required reading there.
It is.
Love it.
I to your point, Monica, I always dreamed that I would be in a place to give back to a space or a place that gave something to me. Coming out of Orlando, I was fortunate. I was raised by a wonderful family, Barbara Butts, my late father, Cortland Butts. I had a big brother, Cortland Butts Jr., done some great things, but my grandparents. And so that was in Rock Lake. For the folks who are listening from Central Florida, in Rock Lake, Edgewater High School. But coming out of that space really said, hey, what can I do different? That's going to help me get to the place that I dreamed about. And so, we were in church all the time. So Tabernacle and Live Church guy, we were there all the time, but we weren't there in the summer times. We was in my uncle's church in Philadelphia, which I'm here today. But it was really saying, I want to dream. I want to manifest my dreams. And so I went off to college in Atlanta. And the next thing you know, I'm studying psychology because I wanted to be an industrial organizational psychologist. I wanted to figure out how to be that psychologist in the workplace.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love it. And then he got introduced to
when
politics.
I was thinking about that, in the book, I talk about I had a situation where there was a young child. My mother was owner of a family-owned daycare, one of the first in the state to be certified in family-owned daycares. And I was coming out of the driveway. And unfortunately, I was rushing. It was on the day before I graduated high school in Edgewater High School. Most people, my peers at Edgewater, doesn't have a clue this happened. But I was rushing out of the driveway to get my grandmother something from the grocery store. And boom, I heard something. And I stopped the car. And I heard people screaming. And I had run over a young child. I hit her. Monica, being a teenager, I jump out the car and I'm looking at this kid and kid is holding breath in, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And all of a sudden you hear this piercing voice scream. And I remember I just started praying. I said, Lord, please let this child live. I don't even care what happens to me. And I don't know what happened. It's the first time, Monica, I witnessed a miracle. The police came and everyone came up and they picked the child up. The only thing she had was a hairline fracture on her arm. And Monica, it blew me away. It blew me away.
I remember in the book, you said that could have changed everything for you, but you have lived by your faith. You have stood on your faith. And by faith, you moved forward from that incident. We never talked about that before, so I thank you for bringing it up, that it not be something that you want to hide, because that's even a testament to who you are. You stood there. You didn't run away. You prayed for this child. You didn't just say, Lord, oh my God, what's going to happen? You just prayed and you were faithful. And that faith has carried you far. It carried you to Atlanta. Did you know that you were going to Morehouse? How did that happen?
Monica, I actually thought when I was coming out of high school, I played football. I figured I would go to one of these schools in the Midwest and play football. And I took my time and really figured out where I wanted to go. By the time I said, where am I going to figure out where I want to go? It was too late. I had all the colleges were closed. In fact, in a book, I talk about it. I took it for granted. Being a football high school athlete, we did pretty good, but at the same time, we didn't think about the academic side of things. And so I'm in practice, second last game of the season, and we're getting ready to play Dr. Phillips High School, and I never forget Nick McNichol. If you listen, thank you, buddy. He hit me. And he broke my shoulder. He broke my shoulder. And some of my college football friends, Brian Bruno White, Vaughn McCall, Darius Alexander, I can name a few of those guys. I mean, we James Tribute. I'm sitting there laying on my back, and I'm like looking at the sky, Monica. I'm like, I know it's broken. I said, what am I going to do now? So the schools that were recruiting me stopped calling.
Right away.
They heard they stopped calling. And I said, okay, I got to figure out. So I took a tour. I was involved in SECME, Southeastern Engineering. It was a club where you get involved and know about all these different things about education. And so we took a historical Black college and university tour. And we went to Tuskegee, went to Atlanta. When I got to Atlanta, my spirit just said, oh, this is where you're going to be. I saw it. It's almost like I saw the vision. I said, now I started seeing places, Monica, that just looked familiar to me. And it's almost like, I know this place.
Okay.
So for me, that's really how I ultimately really got to that space. And I said, okay, this is what I'm going to do. Now, I will tell you something I didn't share in the book. And it'll take a minute and 30 seconds. I said, I want to go to Morehouse. I said, when I grew up listening to Martin Luther King, I heard his records. I want to go where he went. And when I called Morehouse, they said, well, you didn't apply. You done okay in school. You could have done better, but we're going to have to maybe wait on you. And so I said, okay, I want to go to school in Atlanta. So I applied to Clark Atlanta University. I applied to Morris Brown College. Applied to Morehouse. And a buddy of mine, Sean Brown, a buddy of mine in high school, he and I decided we were going to go to Clark Atlanta University. I got into Clark Atlanta University. He said, okay, go to Clark. Great. He said, okay, we're going. And all of a sudden they said, we don't have housing. It's like, what? We don't have housing. Sean said, yeah, my parents said I got to go to FAMU like them. So sorry. I'm like, oh my gosh. My parents said, you're not going to Atlanta by yourself and living on campus. So again, you need to go figure it out. Morris Brown said, oh, we'd love for you to come up here and we want you to play football. I said, okay, great. So I just said yes, so I can leave. I love Atlanta. And as soon as I got there, I said, you know what? I'm away from home. And this is what it feels like being a grown person. But Morehouse said, hey, we'll check back with you. So they called me. No, it was several weeks later. I did pretty well. I was at Morris Brown. I was taking classes between Morris Brown and Morehouse, and I could not be there physically. And so I finally said, they said, yes, you are accepted into Morehouse. We'll see you. And I said, okay, great. So my point is I came to Atlanta being accepted to 3 colleges in one place, going into Clark Atlanta University, Morris Brown College, and Morehouse. And I chose Morehouse to go and matriculate and graduate. And so I'll never forget my experiences at Morris Brown when I was there. I was in a gospel choir. I didn't
know that.
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Hey, listen, after the miracle I just went through, and when I just went through it, breaking my collarbone, I know what I'm going to do. It was nothing but my faith in God that got me through.
I promise you that. Yeah. And while you were at Morehouse, you had several instances where you were asked to speak.
Yes.
And at one point during one of your most exceptional speeches, you came off the stage and you ran into none other than the Atlanta mayor. Talk about that experience.
Yes.
And talk about that 30-second elevator speech that can go well or it can go wrong.
Oh, this one definitely went wrong. Because actually I was at Morehouse, but I was at Clark Atlanta University. So I did decide to go there for graduate school. Okay. So I did get my master's degree from Clark Atlanta. And I came off the stage and was Mayor Maynard Jackson. In fact, we just celebrated his 50th anniversary of him being the first African mayor of the city of Atlanta just this past week.
All right.
And so I said, young man, he said, you're the class president. He said, you did well. What are you going to do? What do you want to do next? And you know, Monica, I was not ready. I said, Mayor, I love to have an internship at the mayor's office, and I'm going to take that next step. He said, you just blew it. He told me on the spot. I said, he said, and he pulled me to the side. He said, listen, come to my office next week. Let me talk to you. So I came to his office next week. He said, I know you're eager, and I know you're looking to do some great things. He said, but next time anyone asks you, what do you want to do? Tell them what it is where you see yourself. What do you see yourself doing in the future? How do you envision you making a difference, not just in your life, but in somebody else's life? I said, wow. He said, you know what? I'm going to make sure I do this for you. I'm going to mentor you, and I'll make sure you get this right. And he did, Monica. Mayor Jackson mentored me. I think the world of him. I miss him. And he gave me my first internship at the mayor's office at the city of Atlanta.
And so from that internship, ladies and gentlemen,
yes,
this man, Cassius Butts, he built his dynasty from an internship.
Yes. Yes.
What were some key things that we can share with some of our younger listeners about how serious they need to take an internship opportunity?
Certainly. And I've talked about it in the book, and I think for me, Monica, I always had a mindset to work with the intern's mindset. In other words, I was working as an intern as though that was my lifelong job. And quite honestly, looking back on it, to be working out of the mayor's office and office of contract compliance, where you get to see all the businesses come in, and you get to certify them to do business with the city of Atlanta. Mayor Jackson said, I want you to do your graduate exit paper on the city of Atlanta's Equal Business Opportunity Program. Wow. That's where you certify businesses that are minority descent and women-owned businesses that do business with the city of Atlanta. He said, I created a program that I want to make sure never goes away. And so I did my graduate exit paper to make certain that minority and women were able to have a certain percentage of the business come through the city of Atlanta that are minority and female-owned businesses. And so I still today, I feel very, very proud about that. And that program is still in place today.
Now, I want to ask you a question without asking you your age. How old were you when you developed and really tweaked and worked that program?
Monica, I was in my 20s.
See,
Um,
you see?
I was in my mid to mid 20s.
Mhm.
And I had to attribute this to my family. I come from a family of entrepreneurs and folks in the pulpit, on both sides. And so
Yeah.
I've always seen my mother as an entrepreneur. She's always had businesses. My father has always had businesses, although he worked at Lockheed Martin, then Martin Marietta.
Mhm.
He owned a barbecue pit store. He had a fruit stand. I've always seen people just working. So I always thought, what can I do to help someone who's an entrepreneur get access to capital and resources to help guide them along the way? So I really dedicated the rest of my life to making certain that somebody else's travels was better than mine.
Mhm. When we talk about mindset in the book, I wanted to ask you, what does mindset and being an exception have in common?
Certainly. I think the mindset is that, first of all, realizing, and when I wrote, exceptional, I really wanted everyone to think that I'm no different than you and you're no different than me. We all have our own lane. The connection between the mindset and being exceptional means that, first of all, you have to first believe that you are exceptional. There's a blueprint for your life that's made just for you. In fact, one of the chapters talks about you're unique as a snowflake, embrace it. So whatever that is, make sure you embrace who you are. And once you embrace who you are, that passion that burns deep within you, make sure you follow that passion. And then
Mhm.
at the same time, I think it's really important, Monica, is also to set goals for yourself, but also I think it's kind of like plant seeds. I think it's the name of my chapter. It's called Plant Seeds and Know When It's Harvest Time.
Yeah.
You know, when you can do that on a consistent basis, you will realize that the wisdom that you get between that is going to help you and get to that trajectory that you talked about where I started out. And I'm
Mhm.
still learning today.
And that's good that you can still get lessons out of day-to-day life,
Yes.
I want you guys to pick up the book Exceptional to really learn the difference that he talks about in between the difference between seed time and harvest time. Hmm, that's a good one. And I remember in a conversation he said, "Well, Monica, they got to pick up the book for some things, and that seed time and harvest time, that's
Oh.
where he really wants you to focus on."
Mhm.
This title that comes underneath your name, two-time United States presidential appointee. I'm so proud of you for that. And
Yeah.
that is in fact how we first met, in
Yes.
one of your roles with the US Small Business Administration. Let's talk about that.
Yes. So there was an opportunity to apply for the federal government program. I applied as a presidential management fellow during the Bush administration. And during that time, I served both terms there at HUD, where it was a fast track for you to work in and to excel. And I did that within HUD. But coming out of that, I had an opportunity to meet a senator from Illinois who said, "You have a funny name like me. And if there's ever an opportunity to support you like you supported me, I'll never forget." You hear these things. But this senator during that time believed that. And so through some relationships that I have in Atlanta, a lot of folks who've done some really great things to support me along the way um, gave me a call and said, "Hey, there's an opportunity at the Small Business Administration. You've got that background, and I think you've met some of these key folks in Washington already. Would you be interested in it? Don't be surprised you get a phone call." I'm like, "Yeah, okay, yeah, sure." Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I got the phone rang one day, and Monica is one of those things that said no caller ID. And I was like, "Hello?" And it was the folks from Washington.
Okay.
Um, that happened, in my opinion, Monica, because again, I was following the things that I generally was interested in doing. I always wanted to be in a place where I can help people, communities, and help communities change the way that we see ourselves. And as ambiguous as that sound, that's truly who I am. I had this mindset that always says your passion is your purpose, and your purpose is your plan. Whatever you're passionate about, that's your purpose in life. Build a whole plan around it. And that's how I got that call from the Small Business Administration. It was great. I enjoyed it, both terms. We backed over $30 billion in capital for small businesses. You were one of the advocates whenever we came to Florida.
Yeah.
Have always championed what we did at the SBA. I was fortunate to have 8 states under my leadership, and we did some pretty phenomenal things. It didn't stop there. Once that was over with, I wanted to stay involved in some form of fashion. And so later on, I also served on the Biden-Harris Transition Agency team, where we helped to set up the federal government for this current administration. And I currently serve as the national co-chair for the General Services Administration Acquisition Policy Committee. And so when I thought I was going to be away from government, I really said in the beginning, I've dedicated my entire life to this, and I'm enjoying every bit of it.
Would you ever go directly into politics? I've never asked you that question, but it's been burning. It's been burning.
Monica, I thought that this is something that I may want to do. My grandfather, late great Fred Butts, in Orlando, Florida, ran for mayor in 1980. He came in second. And my grandmother, my late grandmother on Dorothy Butts, Jones High School, she taught everybody Jones. They always thought I would come back to Orlando and run for mayor one day. But I would tell you, for me, I feel like my calling is to support those who have been called to be in political office. I believe the same thing in the pulpit. When I was going to graduate school, I had a choice to make to go to graduate school, law school, or seminary school. And I got into all three. But it was through my prayers and discernment that, and through the guidance of Mayor Jackson, say, this is the route you're supposed to go. And I feel pretty good about that choice. You've heard me speak, Monica, that the pulpit part comes out from time to time, but
I've heard it. For it. I will say this. Cassius is a phenomenal card player. And I will say he is the king of Uno there in Atlanta where he lives. Yeah. And he talks about life in comparison to an Uno game. And it's really interesting how he shares, even if you're dealt a bad hand, you can still be a winner. I wanted to talk about that.
Yes. One of the chapters I talk about is this is your deck of cards. Now what? And that's how I take on and I am a self-proclaimed king of Uno, just to let you know. Let me tell you something. During the pandemic, when nobody can go anywhere, we had Uno parties, and I look forward to them every night. But in all seriousness, my mentor, who wrote the foreword of the book, Dr. Lewis Lynn, he owns a 30-year-old management construction company, longest tenure trustee at Clemson University, has been a bank director, a man of faith, someone who I adore tremendously. His mentorship has just meant the world to me. He has a beautiful family, grandkids. He's just that guy. But Dr. Lynn would often tell me that, Cassius, you had to continue to put your faith first in everything that you do. And as long as you do that, everything that will come across your purview, you're going to actually do well with it. In other words, whatever cards you've been dealt with, whether you've been dealt with a silver spoon on your mouth or not, whether you went to this side of town or whether you come from that side, it doesn't matter. Whatever card that you have, you are exceptional. That is your lane. And I truly believe that you've been given, and I would say ordained or God-given gifts that you have to believe in, even if someone laughs at you. I'll never forget, and Monica, you know this, we talked about it briefly. I won't go on too long, but I had my nice, good job in the bank, and I heard a president say, leave. Now, I asked certain family members, hey, I'm really not feeling this job right now. No, hey, that's a good job. You should keep. Wasn't for me. And I left. I resigned the next day. And that's when I went back to go to graduate school. I worked at the YMCA. I learned how to really see the things that I really enjoy doing, which is helping people. And that's ultimately where I learned, and I met several CEOs and executives and appointed officials to say, hey, you were that guy who helped my kid out. I love you to come to this meeting. And they appointed me to certain boards that I serve on today and still support a lot of the initiatives that they exposed me to.
There's something that you walk with in your back pocket. You've spoken on stages around the country, probably around the world, because you travel so much. What is that one thing that's in your back pocket that each of us has the ability to walk away with and do exceptional always? What is that one thing in your back pocket?
I say that one thing is comboed. It's one package, but it has two sides, and that's called grace and mercy.
Mm.
You're going to always be in a position where you may make mistakes. You may not make the best decision, but as long as you try to do the right thing, what you can always ask for is mercy, and that mercy is something that I'll never take for granted. But I'm going to always look for grace for someone else that may not have treated me the same way that I may have wanted to be
Yeah.
treated. And so I always carry that grace and mercy wherever I go.
There's something else that he carries in his front pocket, and that's excellence.
Yes, it is.
Because when he walks on stage, you got to be nervous, and we talk about this often. Heck yeah, you need to be nervous, because if you ever stop being nervous, then maybe it's time to go clean a toilet or something. And I said that in one of our interviews. Again, Cassius will be on for a full hour with me this Sunday on Star 94.5, along with two of the members from Color Purple. Ceil's double is Shalita Boxey, and Daquan Barnes is one of the dancers from Color Purple. So he, along with Cassius Butts, along with Shalita and Daquan, will be my guest this Sunday. But I wanted us to finish up within these last 4 minutes and talk about visualizing success. I want us to cover that one more time, because that's what makes you exceptional.
Sure. I definitely would say, as we start out, even this conversation, Monica, and when I started up going to college, and this, as you know, this has been something to me. But when I started to go to college and I was hurt and I was laying on my back and I was looking at the sky, all I could do was visualize me being successful, having a successful family, successful surroundings. And I told you how I started out even my collegiate career. And I had to visualize myself being in that place, and I did. And I'm proud to say that today, I actually serve as the vice chair of Morris Brown College today, a place to still give back to a place that gave me an opportunity, started off in that space. Most recently, I helped to bring in a $30 million hotel deal there at the college, where a good friend of mine named Euclid Walker, who bought the which is then the Trump Hotel, which is now the Waldorf in Washington. We met at Morehouse. And so again, there are no mistakes.
Amazing.
There are no coincidences. It's like my mentor, Dr. Lynn, said, there's only God instances. And as long as you can put your ego to the side, you can receive everything that you're supposed to receive.
That is so true. Putting that ego aside is something that we have to learn how to do. Even Taraji Henson said in auditioning for her role as Sugar Avery in The Color Purple, she figured she had all of these awards behind her, all of these wonderful television pieces, movies, everything. But she had to put her ego aside and audition, because sometimes that director may want you, but the studio may be a little hesitant. So you got to show up, you got to show yourself, and you've got to be exceptional. Would you not say?
I love it. Love it.
You've got to show up, and you've got to be exceptional. Cassius F. Butts is a two-time presidential appointee. Obama is in there, of course, and he's got so many great things going. I need you all to grab this book. It is exceptional. I need it for you to get it and make sure that your kids read it. Okay? Because there's definitely some things in there that are going to stand out. And I want you to leave on this note. While reading this, ask yourself a couple of questions. Do you encourage those you lead? Are you convinced that you can be confident yet respectful to those around you? And that's something that I want us all to remember to be. And Cassius, you have set the bar for us. And all we need to do is pick it up, read it, and make yourself become exceptional. You can do it. Cassius, thank you so much for being on with us tonight.
Thank you for having me today, Monica. And I look forward to us connecting again soon. Thank you again.
Thank you. I'm going to be reaching out to you very soon. Tell your mom I said happy birthday too.
Oh, thank you. She will love it. She knows she loves you. So thank you.
Oh man, I'm so proud of you, Cassius. Thank you so much. And thank you all for watching another edition of Monica May's One Take Live. Thank you so much. Have a good evening.